All right, and I have yoinked star 1468 up into the booth here to do commentary for this Zelda 2 randomizer race. Star, how you doing?
Hello, ADR. I'm doing well, and you?
This is Saracen. I'm doing quite well.
Oh, sorry,
ADR,
seriously. I'm thinking of the tree streamer. Brain's quit. Thank you.
it's all good. So,
Yes, hope you're doing well.
yeah, tell us a little bit about the randomizer and what we can look forward to in this race.
All right, so Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, is the second entry in the Legend of Zelda series here. Bit of an oddball in terms of the series, both the vanilla game and the randomizer here. Unlike most of the other games in the series, this is a bit more RPG like. There are levels. You have attack, magic, and life. Attack and magic are self explanatory. Life is technically more defense, as well as you have your. This was the first actual game in the series to introduce towns, a magic meter, and spell and magical items. And this randomizer in particular is unique among all the other randomizer in that it has a full map randomizer. So this should be interesting. They today are playing with 3 hearts start out of 8. The net maximum number of hearts is randomized. It could be 3 all the time. They might have 8, it might be 6, it might be 7, who knows? We will not have our vanilla maps today. It is possible to have vanilla biomes in the map randomizer, but today we've disabled that and to showcase some of the features of the map rando, as vanilla is a bit boring, really. Instead, we'll have that, and otherwise it's our pretty much our standard flags. They will need to be all 6 of the palaces to be able to access Great Palace. Beat Thunderbird will also be required to be killed, and then beat Darklink to finish the seed. They typically take between an hour and 15 to an hour to an hour and a half. Sometimes a little bit shorter, sometimes a bit longer. Randomizer will be rando, so we'll see. We should be starting pretty shortly here, and we'll see how this goes. Got ourselves Elendar on the left, Mirai on the right. Elendar, a longtime member of the community. Mirai, a little bit newer, but runner-up in the most recent standard tournament, so should be a good race. And speaking of the map randomizer, well, I see islands. Uh-oh. This is a pretty self-explanatory map. It's islands. There are islands on the map separated by lots and lots of water and bridges. Or not, in which case you'll need to find an item called the boot to walk across the water. Island biomes are classically fun in that they are very linear, very trolly, and quite a pain to navigate if you don't have boots, because you're railroaded into these bridges to cross between different islands. Uh, Oh, no, let's see. So we are starting on a pretty large, really challenging island map. Is I have no idea where we are relative to the rest of the map. I think we're in a corner, possibly the northeastern corner, but I'm not sure. As this is important to note where islands can be relative to your current position. Bit early to be sure. It looks like Mirai over here on the right is currently in an item cave of some sort. Yep, and got ourselves a glove. This is required in pretty much all 6 gem seats. You will need this to break blocks and palaces to get through rooms and do things. So that is a very nice early find here. The trophy a little bit north of Star as we find Saria, the back end of it, unfortunately, which has jump in it. So there are 8 towns in the game, 4 in the west, 4 on the east, each one of which has a spell. Saria is the only town with 2 parts. So you can see that there was the other side that there was another town on the other town tile on the other side of the on the neighboring island. That is the other side of Saria. You require the fairy spell or finding Bagu, an NPC on a random forest tile, to be able to get through Saria. I don't think I've seen it will be a solitary forest tile in this Fleece Flags, and I don't think I've seen one yet. So, because it wasn't there for Mirai, because he just checked that, and it's not here either. But the Balgo tile will be a distinctive little house that you talk to an NPC inside of that, and he lets you cross the bridge in Saria. Otherwise, they're not going to be using that to get to the neighboring island just yet. It also looks like, speaking of boots and boots locked things, there is a cave to the north of Elendar's current position. We do have a flag set in the randomizer, so that caves go in the direction they look like they're going in. Um, and so So connector caves, which connect to two different parts of the map, will connect to different areas. And item caves, and they will lead to a cave in the direction that they're facing, essentially. That particular cave, assuming which I do believe, assume if we are in the corner of the map, I don't think there's a bridge of there is not a land bridge leading over there. So that is either an item cave, it could be a connector cave, but the other side of that connector cave would have is not presently visible. It could also be a continental connector cave because there are four continents in the Zelda 2. There's a Western continent, or current continent. There is the Eastern continent. As we check the palace here by start is Palace 5, distinguished by the columns there and the lack of an item dropping from that statue in the front. Yeah, hey, everyone in chat trails, Patrick, Nightcrawler. Yeah, work is unfortunately work. I am technically supposed to be on a work training call, which is about as entertaining as it sounds, so we're fine. Not sure what uh, Mirai just picked up out of that cave because I was looking away from the screen at the time. Someone in chat mind filling me in on what that was. It doesn't look to be anything that changed Mirai's visible HUD. P-back, thank you. Not much, in other words. Speaking of Zelda 2's experience points system, you'll find bags with the letter B on them, so they're called P-bags for lack of a better name. And as we find Palace 4 here, west of Start, distinguished by the Fury Moa, that enemy in the entrance. And we'll be back later. They can't do anything in it yet. Palace 5, they could technically enter, but logically, you are required to have the any key or the fairy spell in order to be able to progress in palaces because the randomizer cannot guarantee freestanding keys in the palaces to be or in the drop pool to be able to give you the ability to open key doors and palaces. So you're required to have an infinite source of keys, essentially. Uh, see, Elendar heading across a bridge now. Mirai is beating up the Iron Knuckle here for some experience. Okay, this is should be I think the P-bag key for Elendar. One of the challenges with solocoms is that I have no idea where they're going sometimes with a lot going on. I believe Mirai should be south of Elendar's present position. One of the challenges too of an island's biome is that knowing the relative positions of various landmarks can get a bit tricky. But it does appear that does look like I was correct in that they started in the northeastern corner of the map, and they are heading west and slightly south now. On the things with the randomizers, you just kind of have to learn the traits of the biomes by playing them and picking up on the common items on it. It takes a while. Chat. Ooh, that's actually a flute from Ellen there, so I was incorrect that he was in the place Mariah was in earlier, because Mariah definitely did not find that. Find the flute is required to open the three-eyed rock, which if the three-eyed rock exists, it unlocks a palace on the eastern continent, and otherwise can also unlock her best friend, the River Devil, who loves to block places in the access to various parts of the map in the eastern continent, also depending on his placement and what the map random decides to do to them today. Mirai seems to have made his way to an enormous island here in the northwestern part of the map, roughly. And it looks like we've got a palace here. That is not King's Tomb. Uranus does also have a handful of hints, usually placed on NPCs in towns on a couple other specific places, and one of them is going to be on a random graveyard tile singular that has King's Tomb on it. As we find Mido has shield in here in the northwest. That is not required, which is good because that is one of three spells in the randomizer. There is one spell in each town, 8 towns total, four on the west, four on the east. And there are three towns with three spells that require items. So it's nice that we don't need to find the medicine. This is a connector cave here for Mirai, who takes a look and decides. Yep, he's gonna head south here. Elendar upping at the Palace 4 there, and Mirai changing his mind is gonna head back across this bridge. Eleanor obeying at Palace 4 there in the little bit southwest of Start. This is to get his lives and health back. In the vanilla game, so in order to reset in Zelda 2 and you need to you originally had to press up and A on the second controller. The randomizer lets you map just to up and select on your main controller. That's a magic jar from right there off the Stonehenge, which is our nickname for this tile because of the stones. But now I lost my train of thought. Whoopsies. Can't remind me of what I was talking about before I saw that magic jar because now I've forgotten. Up A's. But yes, cave to cave to Maze Island here in the northwest. This is our first continental connector. There is a palace, another connector cave, and two items here. But up Aing, as we call it, as and that's back to the west here. Okay, up Aing, as we call it, and find a bridge to Death Mountain, also in the northwest corner here. Jeez. This island is enormous and has loads of stuff on it for them. But upping lets you, it's basically a reset point. And in the vanilla game, this would take you back all the way to the start of, as we find a hint, there's King's Tomb and a hint that Reebneck rides it across. So the item in Talos 3 is not going to be necessary today. They don't need it. Cross is only useful to see invisible enemies, and they can do without it. It's nice to have, but it's not required for anything. But updating in the original game would take you all the way back to the starting palace in the west, unless you were in Great Palace, in which case you back to GP, Life Great Palace, the final palace in the game. Um, but in the randomizer, you can update at any palace now, and it will take you back to the start, not just Great Palace. Updating in the overworlds will still take you back to the Western Starting Palace, unfortunately, but it's a nice quality of life change. For sure to be able to update in any palace and stay where you are, refresh your lives, continue exploring, get your health back, and not have to walk all the way back from start because it takes a really, really long time, especially with Map Rando. Sorry, my comms is a little bit all over the place. I'm trying to keep track of two runners who are constantly finding things. Here's Mito for Elendar, finding out its shield. Here's a island kind of in the west central bit of things. That's a back into Fairy Cave. No real one. Doesn't really feel like passing through it right now, so okay. They're finding this pass-through cave and is going to go through it. For caves, you pretty much just have to learn to identify them. The caves are confined to their respective continents. The caves that were originally on the west are still on the west. The caves originally on the east are still on the east. Their locations on the map will be randomized because it's map rando. Not exactly complicated. Hey, Snow Bear, welcome into my C2R comms here. Talking my ear and chat's ear off here about everything as we see Mariah is now exploring Maze Island, looking for items. So there are four continents on Z2. There's the Western continent, which is where we started, and we have an islands biome here, which is you guys can tell it's an islands biome. It's not complicated. We've got an islands biome on the west. Maze Island is vanilla like. It's pretty much just what we always have. Due to the way that Maze Island is a maze, there's really not too many ways you can randomize the Maze Island layout. And there's the other entrance. There's the other cave in Maze Island, which leads you to Death Mountain. Oh dear. So, fun news. It is on the other side of Death Mountain. The cave from the west was pretty much in the southeastern corner of Death Mountain. This looks to be in the northwestern corner. Hopeful for Death Mountain exploration. Bad news for the east, because there's four continents. There's the west, there's the east, there's Maze Island, and there's Death Mountain. The west and the east each have four towns. West has three palaces. East has three palaces. And then Maze Island has a fourth, as we saw briefly from Elendar. There are five item caves and one item tile in the west. There are two item caves, four item tiles on the east, two item tiles, and then a town with two items in the east. And then Death Mountain and Maze Island each have two overworld items. You are required to find the in the six gem seed. You are required to beat all six palaces. So you have to access the west, east, and Death and Maze Island. Death Mountain may or may not be optional depending on the seed. And fortunately, and there are four continental connectors to go with it. You may have noticed that we had two different connector caves here in Maze Islands. We find Palace 2 in the maze. Same pillars as P5, but in this case, we already found P5 and we know that it has to be P2 by process of elimination. But there are two connector caves, one bridge, and one raft tile. The connector caves and the bridge are self explanatory. You take a bridge or a cave and end up on another continent. And then there's a raft tile, which you need a raft to take. You don't need an item to take the connector caves or bridge tiles. You do need one to take that raft tile. You need a raft. Where is that raft? Who knows? That's bad news. They're gonna have to go look for it. Whoa! And also, yes, that is a very, very rough game over for Mirai, who took a game over in that Maze Island, trying to explore for the items, neither of which we've seen yet, hoping to find something useful. Currently, what they are guaranteed to need for Go mode is they are guaranteed to need a raft. They may need a and then they will need to be able to get the Thunder, Fairy, and Reflect spells to beat the game. They may need items to get those. That I am not actually sure if that was a child or the. I am not actually sure if that was a child or a one up there, or a draft. I actually don't know. This is a new sprite developed by our community member Nightcrawler today for this race. This is the fighter from FF1, and there are some modifications to item sprites as well to go with the character sprite. I have absolutely no idea what that was. Nightcrawler, if you're still in chat, can you tell us what that was for Elendar? Because I have no idea what he just found. Chat says it might be the raft. It might be. I have no idea what that was. If that is a raft, that's really rough for Mirai because he died. He game over before he got it, and well, it certainly wasn't a child because that's the child. Is Garrett confirmed our second item in Maze Island? That'll be nice to be able to get the item spell from Darunia later. Straight vanilla child, actually, too, even in the correct item cave, I think, because that's where you find the child in vanilla. You are to eventually return the lost child to a town in the east to receive the spell from Darunia. And for those who may be familiar with Ocarina of Time, another game in the Zelda series but not Z2, if these town names sound familiar, yes, they do. They're the names of the sages from OT. OT is borrowed the names from Z2 actually for the most part. So that's why those names can sound familiar. Canonically in Zelda lore, since OT comes before Zelda 2, the towns were named after the sages, but practically from you know real life release order. These names of Z2 predate those of OT, as we find the payback here for Elendar, which I believe it was the one that Mirai saw earlier. Alright, back to the maze for Mirai. Oh, French Vanilla Child, I mixed up caves, chat mixing up caves. Okay, and Carla confirming in chat that the only item sprite he changed for this character sprite, was a raft, so we can confirm that was a raft in Maze Island. Very, very nice. As mentioned, we will need that to get to the east. Now, the other question is, where is the raft tile? Who knows? It's not on Maze Island, that is for sure, because we have seen every square on Maze Island, and it's definitely not here. It could be buried somewhere in Death Mountain. We haven't seen too much of it yet. Or it could be somewhere here in Islands West, which we don't have boots for yet. Which will be that would be absolutely fun to go find. Who knows? Speaking of the West, Elendar having cleared out Maze Islands of free overworld items and not having any items to logically go beat palaces is trying, at least, to get through this pasture cave to explore further. Because I think the only physical land bridge off that head south from that big northwestern island was to a dead end essentially with a pasture cave. So he's taking, I think, a slightly different pasture cave. There's a couple options to head further south to the southwestern part of the map because we're a bit railroaded currently. Uh, we all we Nightcrawler saying he meant to tell people he changed the craft sprite and forgot. Oops. Little indeed. Yeah, much appreciated, Nightcrawler. Longtime member of the community, great commentator, who has also developed several sprites for the community, including the one they're both using today. Figured for the FF1 marathon we'd have an FFR sprite. Or FF sprite, technically. Ooh, this cave here has been giving Eleanor a really hard time. Those enemies are technically not vanilla, I should add. Though do have enemy randomizer on, and his 3 heart start is trolling a bit. Eleanor deciding to take a different path through cave here, and we'll see how this goes. Mariah is finding the items here in Maze Island, should be picking up his raft shortly, assuming. Yep, there we are. If anyone in chat knows what that raft sprite is supposed to be, please enlighten me. I have no idea. Eleanor, back on the main northwestern island here. That is a canoe. Thank you, chat, confirming what that sprite actually is for the raft. All right, and Eleanor deciding to go through this bridge and take this passer cave instead of the one he was taking earlier, since those Lizalfos and that Zora, the names of the enemies that were giving him a hard time, decided he doesn't feel like doing that just yet, so he's off over here. Yep, Giga Otomia, the canoe sprite is based indeed off of how you get a canoe in FF1 and 2. In fact, the Zelda sprite has actually been changed as well to a different sprite, whose name I am presently forgetting. I'm afraid I'm not exceptionally familiar with Final Fantasy One, but Nightcrawler can correct. It can clarify on that. Sarah, right? Thank you. Is the sprite for the Zelda, the princess we save at the end of the game, because you can change a few different things. Some of the Zelda 2 sprites change just the Link sprite, but many also change a few other things. Items, the Zelda sprite. I think there's at least one that might change the Ganon sprite. That's pretty neat.
Can I sneak in a couple donations real quick?
Sure, mostly doing overworld exploration at the moment. Well, actually, 1 second. We're on the southwestern island now. Southwestern corner of the map is indicated by the sharp corner of those mountains there on the edge of Elendara's screen. Let's see. What's on this island? I see a cave and I see a town. This should be Rauru, as this is the only town we haven't seen yet. And Thunder. That's a required spell. Very nice. All right. While he does that, you can read off a few donations.
All right. So we have $25 from BKPKT Patrick saying bad Burns bad, Zelda 2 good. And $60 from Happy Artea, which there's no comment, but I have to believe that that is for the wipe money from the MQR race. Uh, I do want to also point out we have surpassed our original $1,000 goal in fundraising. We're up to $1,130, which you see on the screen here as well. But certainly keep those donations coming so that we can help out this great cause.
Absolutely. Do you want to talk about what we're fundraising for?
Absolutely. So we are raising money for the Burned Children's Fund in South Carolina, run by the South Carolina firefighters in affiliation with the Medical University of South Carolina Children's Health. Their mission is to ease the recovery process for MUSC's pediatric burn patients and their families through supplies and training for the highest quality burn care, direct family support, and education. Their big thing is a summer camp, which is called Camp Can Do, and it is a summer camp specific for the pediatric burn patients and gives them that camp experience with the expertise of the firefighters and nurses who work with pediatric burn patients. So, great cause. They also provide travel support, lodgings, food, etc., for when the patients need to come into the hospital because this is MUSC is the only pediatric burn facility in South Carolina, and it also covers a significant portion of northern Georgia and North Carolina. So, sometimes patients are coming in from 4 hours away, and it's really important to be able to get them there and make sure that their families can be with them. So,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. Much appreciated for all their work. Back to the race because we had a major find while you were talking about that. Elendar found that southwestern island. He found the raft tile. We found the east. That's the good news. The bad news is more islands. Where at the moment he took a passer cave. The raft helped up you out in a bit of the area where you had access to a connector cave and water. Since that gets you not much of anywhere essentially. He took the connector cave, got to a larger part of an island somewhere, and game over. So he's heading back there. Trails is also on that southwestern island now. Southwestern island of the west, I guess I must clarify now, because we've got two islands biomes going today. Wahoo! Um, Chat is talking about something or another. I can't parse. Uh, okay, chat's trolling. There we go. Thanks. But yeah, Islands East. So this should be interesting. So the game isn't being particularly creative today, but there's actually several different biomes available in the randomizer. There's straight vanilla, which is the straight vanilla map. The Despite what the seed looks like, the biomes are chosen randomly for each continent separately. It just so happened to choose islands for both the west and the east. Death Mountain is not an islands biome. I think it is a mountainous biome, which is mostly mountains, with the pockets of land scattered here and there that have things to do in them. There is also vanilla maps, which are just a straight vanilla map with all their landmarks and their original locations. So the palaces will be shuffled between each other on the palace tiles. Is the only exception to vanilla my true vanilla maps. And actually, no, I'm wrong. I thought this was islands. This might be a No, this is definitely islands. I was looking at it a bit wrong. There is also a vanilla shuffled biome, which is where you have the vanilla map for the basic overworld layout, but the landmarks are shuffled between each other. So you could have a town in place of where a palace used to be, or the raft tile might be replaced by an item cave. Oof, on that came over for Elendar. There is there is vanilla like, which is where there's not one distinct theme. There's a mix of all different terrain types. Kind of like the randomized layout, but all different terrain types with no specific theme is the vanilla like biome, which is this is also the biome for essentially the type of map randomizer that was shown in older versions of Rando. We are on 4.0 and have been for the past about 2 years now. But before that, 3.0 had a very different 3.0 3.x had a very different type of map rando. Um, there is also the islands biomes, which we are seeing a double dose of today. We have a canyon biome. This comes in both dried and regular versions. Canyons have very long canyons running down the map. So river canyons will have a long river running down the center of the map, either north, south, or west, east, west, and this will divide it with strips of land on either side, with towns, palaces, and everything on those. Usually there are bridges connecting them, but you may need boots to access parts of a canyon biome. You can also have dried canyons where the river dried up. So it's still a long, either very tall or very wide map, but you can get anywhere on a dried canyon. So pretty much the nicest maps the randomizer can offer. And Mara here seems to be in the middle of this eastern islands biome. We're finding not a whole lot to comment on besides I think he's more or less in the middle of the map vertically, currently on the western end of the middle of the map. But canyon biomes are interesting. You've also got caldera and volcano biomes, where you've got the map is split into thirds effectively. There is a caldera or volcano, caldera having a big lake, volcano being full of lava, in the middle of the map, usually with a connector caves on either side connecting to the other two thirds of the map. This will either be oriented north, south, or east, west. Calderas are You'll typically see calderas in the west and Death Mountain, and volcanoes in the east, but they're functionally pretty much identical. And then there is mountainous biomes, pockets of land here and there scattered throughout a big mountain. This is, I think, what we have on the west on Death Mountain today, because I'm pretty sure it wasn't vanilla like, and it certainly wasn't islands, and it didn't look like a canyon. We in fact have seen the here for Elendar. That is the entrance to the Valley of Death, that which contains the final palace of the game in the original game. It's just a regular palace in randomizer potentially. Could be GP. It's a one in uh, four chance now since we've seen three other palaces so far, all in the west. Or no, three on the west. No, two on the west, one on Maze Island. We haven't seen our third Western Palace. Probably also Boots Walk. Um, Mirai here has found Old Kasuda, one of our eastern towns, someplace I totally missed. And Baku owes me 20 bucks. Thanks. 20 rupees. And the spell is spell. Okay. So this turns enemies into bots. Don't which can be randomized as to which what enemy a spell turns enemies into, but I don't believe that's randomized in these flags. And it also opens up one item in New Kasudo. Um, I still there's Three-Eyed Rock. Unfortunately, I was thinking of this mentioned this briefly earlier, and I found that flute. You do need the flute to open Three-Eyed Rock. And Mariah hasn't found that yet on the west. I don't remember where it was. Oh wait, no, he has it. It's just not been marked on his tracker. Never mind. So here's P1 in the east. Looks like it's in the southwestern part of the map. I want to say. And he's gonna go in. Welcome in, Aaron, to you too. Welcome raiding with a party of 6. Hey, Aaron and Raiders. Thanks for the raid. We are 30 minutes into this scene. We've got islands galore. I'm lost. Chad's probably lost too, and we're in for fun. Eleanor also finding his way to Old Kasudo. Needs to not die here. That would be a game over. He is going to go over, check Three-Eyed Rock, get the palace, and not be here to get his lives back because, as you've probably also already figured out, getting back to the east is a real pain in the rear. Yeah. So with levels, they are currently at 445 for Elendar. We'll see what my stats are here. 456 for Mirai. It is up to 8 in each stat. Attack is self-explanatory. Magic levels decrease the cost of magical spells, and life levels actually increase your defense. Your literal life, your in terms of health points, is measured by the number of heart containers you have, which is currently 3. They set it as a starting 3 heart containers in these flags, and they have random max hearts. So they might never find another heart, but we don't know yet. You can see in the top right part of the corner, the next and a number out of 1440 for Elendar, 2170 for Mirai. This is looking at their current amount of experience and the experience to the next level. Because each time that counter fills up, you can make a choice to you can make a choice as to whether you want to take a level or wait for the next one. Between the 3 different options you have: life, magic, and attack. And yeah, you can wait on which one you want to take, and it will show the next one that you have decided to not skip. I'll know deciding to take that level there, magic 5, and it's going to update and resume. I am not 100% sure why he was waiting for the blocks in that room earlier. He might have been waiting. I think there is a key high up in that room that he was perhaps hoping to collect, as they still do not have the end key or the fairy spell. And instead, but that wasn't help working, so he's just going to move on. These two are now in a fun room. So the randomizer has the palaces of the rooms randomized. Rooms of the palaces, not palaces of the rooms. Wow. Rooms of the palaces randomized as well as the overall map. So the rooms are shuffled between different palaces. Now, a room is not also confined to its riddle dungeon, with the exception of Great Palace. And there are also many community rooms added to the randomizer. That room with the large number of blocks they pass through on the way here, which is the boss, is in fact a dead end room in vanilla, but somebody was mean enough to add a community room in the randomizer that is a pass through variant of the dead end room. And the only distinction you have when coming in is that the pass through variant has two enemies on the steps. The dead end variant does not. As here is their first gem for each of them. Eleanor just a hair behind Mariah at 33.15. That is 566 for Mariah, 456 for Elendar. When you place a gem to finish a palace, you get your experience bar filled all the way up to the next level, whatever that may be, which is a nice little feature to get the high levels. The low levels are easy enough to be able to achieve, like, know that this is only their first palace and they were already at quite mid good levels before that. But but it placing gems is nearly essential to be able to get to the higher levels because the experience costs get higher and higher as you go. Uh, Eleanor are having fun in this crumble bridge room. There we go. And they are going to find the item here, which is the boots. That is a fantastic find for them both. They really need that. With islands value, double island volumes, they really, really need those boots. Oh, hi, the River Devil. Speaking of uses for the flute, that's one of them. You can be required to bypass the River Devil by using the flute. To note as well, those boots are out of logic. Logically, you're required to have the fairy spell or the any key to be able to clear palaces, because otherwise you are not guaranteed to be able to open key doors. But where's the flute or any key? Who knows, honestly. Could be somewhere here on the east. We are missing both items out of Death Mountain. Oh, we don't have Hammer for Spectral Rack, but we are missing Hammer Cave, and we're probably missing one or two other loose ends. We are here in Darunia for Mirai. Elendar is trekking up the west coast. And just a jar here on the uh, good jar there on the desert tile. Yeah, the rolls are really high for Moon Palace Nightcrawler. They've been grinding a lot. I think they've done a decent number of P-bag drops of enemies. Geez, that is a lot of Lizalfos on that encounter for Elendar. And they've got pretty good levels here. Might actually see attack 8 potentially from them. There is the Northern Palace. Reflect off Darunia is very nice. Yes, you are correct, Giga Otomia. In vanilla, there are specific paths you head across walk across in the water. This is a flag in the randomizer to allow you walk anywhere with the boots. You can turn this off and have to walk on specific water paths, but it's a really, really big pain in the arse to do so, so we don't have the flag on most of the time. Instead, we are going to be able to walk anywhere now as we get in the burrow with the fairy spell. Uh, I think this was available. I think this island might have been accessible without boots. Uh, but this would give them logical access to their boots in the palace here in the far northwest corner of the map. Both northwestern islands on both their islands biomes proving to be useful today. Oh yeah, oh yeah, for sure, Nightcrawler. Boots will speed things up a ton. Like, yeah, as you guys can tell, navigating an island's map without boots is a humongous pain, and they have sped up a ton now that they can go anywhere they want with the boots. Nightcrawler said he would have made the boots a raft on this sprite if the sprite changed in the water, but the game has limitations. Yeah, Zelda 2 is a NES game, and its age does show in some ways, especially with the sprite limitations. But no, it was great work done from me and Nightcrawler. Much appreciated. Who got this done just last night, in fact. Much appreciated for getting it done just in time for this run. And see. Mirai, Elndar's back on the west. Mirai is in Sunken Peaback Cave here, one of the two item caves in the east. Noted by how you drop down into the little pits here instead of climbing little hills. There is Risen Peaback Cave, which does the opposite. And that's a nice magic jar for him. Will make casting spells easier. So, as you may see, there is a cost of magic on each spell list. You hit select to see what the spells are, and you can in fact there's a speed select setting in the randomizer where you don't have the menu to be able to use the spell each time. Yeah, camera record that is down stab now for Elendar. Uh, can be recorded for some rooms in Great Palace. Also, just really nice to have for combat. Lets you pogo stick through enemies essentially. Quite handy. So, for example, here, Fairy costs 21 points for Mirai at Magic 6 as he picks up uh, something I completely missed, totally missed. But Fairy costs 21 points there for Mirai, taking out a little bit over one of his six magic charms. This is because each bar of magic grants you 16 points. There are 8 magic jars total in the game, for a total of 16 times 8 equals 128 points possible to have your maximum, and then the magic level determines how costly each spell is. It is random, spell costs are randomized in these flags. I like Big Bots and I cannot lie. That is the jump spell there for Elendar out of Saria. But as we find GP for Elendar, for Mirai in the east, on the middle of the south coast, it looks like. Yep. Um, Water Towel was in the any key. Very nice for Mirai. Thank you. That allows you to open any key door you want. It's quite handy. That is also known as the magical key. That is logically relevant to. So that tells us for sure that the fairy spell must have been accessible because the water tile is hard boots locked. Thankfully, not an issue because they found the boots. And Elendar and Mariah is off to find GP. Elendar is on the west finding that P bag. Not helpful. Death from Mariah, who's doing a neat, nifty little trick here and failing it, called Fairy Feet. These encounters here in the Valley of Death are slow. But if you manage to get it, you can Fairy Feet, where you fly to the left side of, fly to the edge of the encounter, and then on just the right frame or series of frames, I think it's a couple. If you press in just the right frame, you can in the opposite direction, which would have been right here for Mirai as he enters, as he leaves the encounter. You can just skip it completely. So this is Palace 3 or 6 in the Valley of Death for Mirai. We do not know which. Yeah, Fairy Feet is screen wrapping Z2 style, basically. You are correct, Safnum. There's in fact a relatively recently discovered trick called Link Feet, where you can do the same, but just as Link, though that one is quite a bit more difficult. So, uh, Mirai is in P4. Eldar's in P4. Mirai is in P. As we now found out, Palace 3. Palace 3 and Palace 6 are the most difficult of the palaces to teleport. Both have the same pillar styles. P1 and P4 also share the same solar style. P2 and P5 do. Um, and GP also shares a pillar style, I believe, with P1 and 4. But the other palaces all have distinguishing secondary features, and the entrances held them apart. P3 and 6 don't. They have the exact same entrance, and the colors are randomized in these flags, so you can't tell them apart by that. The only way to tell Palace 3 and Palace 6 apart as we get a glove lock in P4 here for Elendar is to either find the windows, which are different between the two palaces, or find the boss, which that was a Rabenak for Mirai, so we know that was P3. Gem number 2 at 42 minutes. And I think P3 should also be on the east if I've been keeping my notes straight, though I might not be. The notes are a bit of a mess today. But P4 here is a very, very bright uh, fuchsia color here for Elendar. The colors are randomized, though the houses are randomized in this randomizer. At least I don't know if it's a flag, but it might just be a permanent thing. And you can get some interesting colors. Their brick pattern is randomized. The foreground color and the outline of the bricks is randomized in color, and you can get some very eye-searing color combinations. This is not one of the better ones. The foreground brick pattern being different from the background brick pattern is a little trippy, especially since the foreground pattern with these little vertical blocks is particularly motion sickness inducing sometimes. The background's not helping. And then this very vivid shade of pink is something. It's not the worst I've seen, by the way. This randomizer can produce a lot worse for colors, and it's not the kindest on the eyes, to say the least. Yeah, it turns out not that all of the NES palettes should be used. There could be some pretty ugly ones. P3 was a fairly tame yellowish color. Mariah was also not in there for very long, so didn't even really notice. And I have completely forgotten what the color of P1 was. I had other things to talk about at the time when we were in there, so I don't remember. Yeah, this could be worse. I've seen some neon green palaces. I've seen very light gray palaces that were almost white. Those can be pretty hard on the eyes. Uh, there's more obnoxious shades of pink than this. There's been some pretty obnoxious shades of orange. Red eyes can get to be a bit too much sometimes in the palette shuffle. This one's at least okay. Not my favorite, but I've seen worse. Go east to find the medicine is the hint there in Mito for Mirai. So that will be either the Risen Peaback, Risen Peaback Cave, or that will be in Nikasudo. Hints will point towards the continent or towards a palace. Um, so we, for example, got a hint early that Ravenak rides with the cross. That tells us the item in P3 was just the cross. And Mirai didn't need it. That's why he got out of P3 early. And Mirai, by the way, is also now in P4. Other fun thing about Palette Shuffle is that uh, the colors on the NES original console are substantially tamer than on emulator. Elendar is an emulator player. Mirai plays on console. You will notice that this shade of pink is substantially less offensive on Mirai's side, which is much appreciated. It's almost more of a salmon pink, I want to say here, on Mirai's side, rather than the hot pink of Elendar's, which is nice. In fact, I have seen at least one race where one runner had a dark green on their side, like medium dark green, forest green on for one palace that was visible on their side, and then their opponent, who was on console, the dark green was so dark that it looked effectively it looked like pitch black to me. Just fun. Okay, correction. Rive plays on Mystic, yeah. Which you may need to remind me of the technical explanation on that again, or Slamu, because I forgot. Oops. Oh yeah, had a Rebo Shark in T4. So, uh, Rebanak, the boss of P3, can also show up as a mini boss. Originally was only in Palace 6, but can get randomized to other palaces now. And that horse sprite can show up as some very interesting things, depending on the palace. In Palace 4, if you get a mini boss Rebanak, it looks like what it looked like on Elendar's side. Very interesting sprite malfun interesting pulling from the wrong sprite in the bank issue that results in some interesting visuals. We call it Rebo Shark as a nickname. Kuma in Palace 5 also looks very funny when you have a Rebo neck there. Now here's Karak for real, and that's a boss of P4 down for Eleanor. That will be his second gem at 47 minutes. Mariah not too far behind. And the pedestals for the gems are also get shuffled. The colors of those get shuffled in the palette. Rando too. We don't see them for too long, so it's not really much of a big deal. As the curtains in the boss rooms, actually, while I'm mentioning it. And Eleanor has decided he is out of here. Yeah, Eldar spent a lot of time in P4, took some wrong turns, and but Karak was pretty actually a couple screens in. So there might be some time to be saved for Mirai if he finds there faster, though he's also going off in some other direction that wasn't it. The Anarchy Nimbus was in the east. Elendar, I think, took a game over, unfortunately, shortly after P1, so ended up heading back to the west, and is now back in Maze Island to go clear this palace. He's trying to remember what the fastest way back there is, because this palace was pretty deep in. But Mirai stuck around the east a bit longer after P1 and did find his any key. Alright, there we go on the fairy fee for Elendar, and he is going to go and clear P2. Which is a very, very nice navy blue here. It's probably going to be almost pitch black for for Mirai, who is no life at all. But I quite like this shade of blue. Much, much easier on the eyes, especially because this has a solid black background. Very nice. Also, what's also very nice is this small key, because Eleanor doesn't have the any key yet, and the fairy is still, I think, a bit expensive at Magic 6. Mirai is in this area here, which Eleanor was in earlier. And community room for Elendar. I do like there's a few community rooms that are open air like this. There is no ceiling. They're just open to the sky. There's only a couple of garden rooms, as they're also called in Zelda in the original game, that have an open sky, but there's been a few added now. We don't know if we'll see if we get one in this seed. But one of the most fun open air rooms, one of my personal favorite of mine, is when Barbara the boss of the Sixth Palace, gets put in an open air room. As we get here another Rebo. Here's Rebo Shark on right side. We get to see the interesting graphical glitch that is Rebanak in P4, where the game can't fall because the location of the horse sprite in P3 or 6 gets replaced by Karak or something. Apparently, it seems in the sprite bank for P6 or P4, so you get this very interesting graphical glitch. Looks kind of vaguely shark-like, which is why we call it Rebo Shark for short. And as I was commenting on Mirai's low health, he did take a death to Rebo Shark, but does take him down the second time. Eleanor finding a P bag there in that dead end P2 room, and just a P bag in P4, so that's not helpful. At this moment, we know from Mirai that he is an item go mode. We have seen he has thunder, he has fairy, and he has reflect. He does not need anything else to beat the seed. He just needs to beat palaces. Eleanor has yet to pick up fairy or reflect, I believe, because he didn't explore the east enough to find those. Oh no, he has fairy. He doesn't have reflect, I think. But he will need to find those, and then he will also be in go mode because he does have thunder. Okay, Eleanor does have fairy and reflect. Sorry about that. Thank you then. So just missing the fairy. Or does he not have thunder? I thought he should have thunder already. That was in the southwestern part of the west. I admittedly have gotten extremely lost in these island biomes, so apologies for that. Trying to keep track of them both, especially with these sprawling maps and the divergence they've had, has been tricky. Elendar is still in P2, trying to find his way to Helmet Head. As here's Karak for Mirai. Tough to kill Karak with reflect. Good point, Slamu. Good point. Yeah, Mirai also taking a very long time to find Karak in P4. Might not be too happy with the time loss, though we know that Elendar also spent a lot of time in here. And here is the item in P2 for Elendar. Nightcrawler? What was that? As here's P5 for Mirai. I actually genuinely have absolutely no idea what on earth that was for Elendar in P2. I don't think it was glitched graphics, Chica Otomia. I'm not sure what that was, I genuinely can't tell. But something that is not a sprite I recognize, I'll say that much. It's not an item we need. We already have all the. We know of all the placements of all the items we do need to beat this seed. But I am curious. What was that? Everyone's saying it looks kind of similar to the kid in the FDS Japanese version, but it wasn't the kid. Nightcrawler is saying there should only be one item changed. Well, we know it wasn't the raft because we got that a while ago. We know that's not the medicine. I guess it must be the trophy by process of elimination. I don't know what happened to the sprite though, since Nightcrawler says he didn't change that. Huh. What do you know? Not that they need it anyway, that only locks life spell in Rando, but that was funny. This is the first time this sprite was only finished less than 24 hours ago, I believe, so this is effectively the first time we're seeing it used. This is the first time we've ever seen it used in a race, and I think it's one of the first times it's ever been used, period. Which, other than presumably Nightcrawler playtesting it. So, we're learning things about what playing with this sprite does to the sprites in the game. Alright, Nightcrawler's saying he'll look into later, thanks. Yeah, because Ellender found a mystery sprite in P4 that looked distinct, in P2, sorry, here, which looked very odd. Looks like he's a child to me. Giga? Maybe. Though we have verified that we saw the child elsewhere. The child was just French Vanilla in Maze Island. So we know it can't be that by sheer process of elimination. There is only one copy of each item in the seed. There are four distinct magic jars. There are distinct heart containers as well, but everything else, all the unique items are, well, unique. And so we know it also cannot be the raft, which is the other potential thing. Started finished less than 12 hours ago. Neat. He did test it though, that's what I thought, yeah. Maybe we'll see Mariah get it later. Possible? I don't know that he'll get the item out of 4. Or out of 2, but we'll see if he chooses to do so, as that is gem number 3 for Ellender at 55 minutes. Blue's a sad color. It's my favorite color, Nimbus, so I like that particularly rich blue color that Pewtwo had on his side. P5 here for Ellender is more of a teal color, greenish blue. Also contrasting foreground and background brick patterns. Thankfully this one's not quite as trippy as P4 was. It hasn't been all shades of blue today, Nimbus. P3 was yellowish. I don't actually remember the color of P1. Oh, Velner used the patch after introducing with Charles problems, perhaps, yeah. It's not Periwinkle here on P5, that's for sure. That's for sure for Umrai. One of the things. Where's my brain going now? Yeah, they're pretty much just both in Palace Clear mode. Okay, that menu from Eleanor confirming he does have Thunder, Fair, and Reflect, and he has a flute. He knows he's in go mode. He just needs to go beat the game, essentially. He's currently looking to head to P5 as he is up to 6 magic jars now. Okay. And here is Guma from Rai. This P5 wasn't too terrible, all things considered. Palace 5 is actually the longest of the palaces in the game. The longest of the non-Great palaces in the original game. The randomizer has it plus or minus 25% with reconstructed palaces on the flags that we have here, involving community rooms. And so technically it could be a little longer, a little shorter. Palace 2 is also very long, as is Palace 6. I think Palaces 1, 3, and 4 are some of the shortest. Speaking of Palace 6, Yeah, this should be Palace 6 here, as I seem to have gotten a smidge lost. That's where Elendar is at. This is a very, very pale gray bordering on white. This is a little bit bright. I'll say that much. It is a little too bright for my eyes. It's, basically light mode almost for the rando. It's something, alright. Mariah making the interesting choice to go to the edge of the map. I'm a little uncertain. Ah, he's checking out this cave. Going to get the item from here. I don't actually know what this is. I guess it is off-white here for Elendar. It's very, very pale gray. It is very close to standard P1. You are correct, Slamu. I was thinking this looks like the FDS palaces. I think that was just a P back from Mariah. Yeah. Because we've referred a couple times to FDS. That is the Famicom Disk System, the Japanese version of the NES, or equivalent of the NES, which the FDS version of Xedu has some differences from the NES version, including that in the FDS version, there is no Guma in Palace 5. I think there was just another helmet head, which Guma is the boss unique to the NES version. And all of the palaces were the same shade of gray, actually very similar to the one here in P1, just with a different brick color. Or different brick pattern, I think. Brain. Words are hard. Mariah is heading back to the raft tile. Or not yet, he is doing some more exploration. I am a little confused as to what he's looking for. Fairly sure he has. Yeah, he has Thunder, Fair, and Reflect. I'm not sure why he's still looking for items. As that is yet another P bag, and I think that should be all items in the West. We've seen a glove, 3 P bags, a flute, and a magic jar, which is all of them. Ah, Mariah was looking for this P6, which he hadn't seen yet. There we go. Here is Barba for Elendar, which I was talking about open air rooms earlier. We've got an open air Barba here. Sadly, the how high Barba flies does not change depending on the room. It makes sense from a mechanical standpoint. It would be cool if this open air room would let him fly high into the sky, and it's probably faster for the fight if we don't do that. But it's always pretty neat to see. It makes more sense that a dragon would be able to fly free than to be stuck in a tiny room with a ceiling. Very nice fight, and that'll be jump number 4 for Elendar. His neck can only be so long. Little Giga. So, Elendar still has Palaces 3 and 5 left. Mariah has Palaces 2 and 6 left. Both just missing palaces the other has already done. I am not actually sure where Elendar is going right now. P6 though wasn't too bad for Elendar. We'll see how long it takes Mariah to clear this. This is in fact back to the starting palace area for Elendar, and right, P5 is here. Okay, sense of direction got lost, but we're back. And then, so this is P5. I don't think this took Elendar Mariah too long, and then he'll be off to beat P3, which is in the Valley of Death. And Elendar already knows that location, so he'll be fine there. Mariah's in P6. He needs to find and he knows that P2 is in the Maze Island, so that won't take him too long. They're pretty close here, heading into clearing out their final couple palaces. It will be slightly faster for Elendar. P2 is in the Valley of Death. It wasn't an incredibly long one, but Elendar has to walk out of the Valley of Death or up A and then walk back, whereas Mariah will need to walk all the way through Maze Island to get to P2 and then up A and get back to the east for GP. So this should be they're pretty close here, and GP is also known as the Great Equalizer. Because GP can be an absolute maze that can get you extremely lost as we find a very, very, very useless hammer in P6. I think Mariah was hoping for a heart container, but no such luck. Yeah, Mariah might have a bit of a lead. P6, I think, was shorter than P5. I honestly don't remember how long P3 was for him, or P2 for either, but we'll see. P6 here, already showing the jail bar windows here. That is an indication of it being P6. You can also tell that this has to be P6 because we saw P3 and Rebanek earlier. Why don't they want the hammer? They don't need it. They already have all the items they need to beat the seed. They just need to beat their palaces, and that hammer does not lock any palaces at all. Trails, no, this is a very close race. I have no idea why you thought Mariah had a substantial lead. They're at 4 gems each. Mariah seems to be getting a bit lost in P6. Eleanor seems to be a bit lost in P5, but they both got 2 palaces each left to clear. I honestly don't remember how long any of these 4 were, but we have seen them cleared already from the other runner, so they just need to go do it. This is a speedrun, Gigo, Tommy. They don't want to deforest the entire world. They've got better things to do. They need to go take down Dark Fighter in this case. No matter the sprite that is used in Z2, the Dark Link will be replaced by a dark version of the sprite. Yes, fun fact, for those who are wondering, for some reason, the hammer destroys forest tiles in Zelda 2. Don't ask why. It just is, and that is actually required in the original game to open up a town. Because the town of New Kasuto is hidden under a forest tile, and you need to find the hammer to go break it down. You need the hammer for other things too, besides, but you really need it for. But one of those things, one of the things you need a hammer for, besides actual, hammerable rocks, which makes more sense, is I guess the hammer also serves as an axe. You need it to chop down a forest tile. Lucky there for Elendar, who has yet to find Guma. Mariah is still looking for Barba. And we're in the phase of the Zelda 2 comms where I'm just going off on tangents because we don't have a lot to talk about the seed anymore. We're in go mode, we're just clearing palaces, and they're currently both extremely lost. Both recently upping to try and restart the palace, take a different path maybe, and see if they can't figure out where's this darn boss they missed earlier. Mariah finding the dead-end variant of that room, which we saw the pasture variant earlier in another palace, but that's a dead end. So, nope. Turn around! Yeah, so let's see. P5 and P1, though the colors are slightly less saturated on Mariah's side, it doesn't end up making all that much difference here for either of these palaces. P5 is still teal colored, and P1 is still a very pale white, pale gray here on Mariah's side. Just perhaps slightly more gray than white now, as we finally find Barba for Mariah. Jeez. So he is going to be the first to a 5th gem, as Belendar is still looking for the skooma, wherever he is. I don't think he's too far. Mostly that I think Elendar has seen most of the rooms in this palace, and there's only so many rooms left for him to search before he finds his skooma. But we'll see about that. Very nice Barba for Mariah. Elendar is still in P5. Oh yeah, it's absolutely not over till it's over, especially with this being a Especially since this is looking like a 3-heart seed. They did have randomized max hearts. We are missing a lot of heart item locations in this game. But we do seem to have a slightly unusually high amount. We've seen a good few junk items, several pea bags, and a bread jar, but there's no indication yet for certain that there are more heart containers in this seed. I don't know what the max is. It might have been 0, it might have been 3, it might have been 7, it might have been 8. We don't know yet. I think it might be max 7 possible, because I think we might have gotten 1 extra pea bag over the normal in the item pool. But they're certainly looking like they're going to finish the seed with 3 hearts at any rate, because I don't think they're finding any more. They're certainly not going to do any item locations left within the house they have remaining, and I think there's not been any of them. Ooh, that death hurts for Elendar on Guma. Thankfully, that is not a game over. But he will be placing his 5th gem as Murai gets into his 6th palace here, so we'll see how long this takes for them both. And actually, Sirisan, if you have donations to read, do that.
Amazingly, we are actually still caught up on donations, but I will take the opportunity to plug our nonprofit partner again. So today we're raising funds, and all weekend really, for the Burned Children's Fund, run by the South Carolina Firefighters and affiliated with the Medical University of South Carolina Children's Health. Their mission to ease the recovery process for MUSC's pediatric burn patients and their families through supplies and training for the highest quality burn care, direct family support, and education. They run a summer camp called Camp Can Do, which is specific to their pediatric burn patients. And Ross, the rep that we talked to this morning in the opening ceremony, was saying that the most inspiring thing for him has been watching kids who had literally their hands burned off fishing at this camp and being able to catch a fish and seeing that joy of something that otherwise they wouldn't be able to do. So definitely a fantastic charity. I would say, give what you can, and let's do it for the kids, right?
Oh, absolutely. You may find the link to donate there in the chat. Please donate if you are available. As that is finally Guma down for Elendar here. Took 2 deaths, but does not game over, and is off to P3 after this. Though we have plenty of runs left to come after this. The next run after this one, once we wrap, is going to be a Chrono Trigger Jets of Time, a Legacy of Cyrus run from Akuhaish. There are a couple of incentives there. I've already met the one for Boss Randomizer and Gear Randomizer. You may also donate money to name the frog or to name the Magus. Currently it's $20 each. $20 to name the frog D Frog and $20 to name Magus Fritz. So you can change that if you donate more than $20 to either of those incentives, I think. Then there's more races more runs and randomizer runs, both and vanilla, to come after that and throughout the weekend here. Link to the schedule also in the chat. Oh yeah, sorry. So I'm obviously you guys know me as Nikam, and the person who is the current host is Sarah-san. Who has just typed in the chat. Elendar picking up the ending key and is now going to go pick up Upstab, and then he'll go to P3. Was 3 fast? I honestly don't remember, Trails. Did Neo get rebanated? Elendar did have a bit of trouble with the Rainbow Shark. Trails, Mirai not too much. There's my brain. Elendar is getting upstab here. I don't think Mirai picked up upstab or downstab, which might make a difference later. It is possible to skip upstab in GP in some rooms, not in others. And downstab is unskippable if you get stuck with downstab block, so this may matter. Mirai does not. I actually don't know if Mirai has jump. I haven't seen his menu in a minute, and I don't remember if he picked it up. I think Elendar picked it up, but It's been a bit of a rough one for him. I don't want to say he doesn't have jump, but I'm honestly not sure. Eleanor, maybe... Ah, there, okay. Trying to remember where to get to the Valley of Death. And he's not going there yet? Where are you going? Unless I've managed to just lose track of which palace is where, which is also quite possible because my note sheet has been a bit of a mess today. Ah, he had right. Eleanor hadn't found GP yet, so he was checking for for the last overworld palace before GP, hoping to save some time. Since if you go to the Valley of, if it's a 50-50 between the overworld and Valley of Death, and you guess wrong, head to GP before the Valley before the overworld, and you find out, and you have to walk all the way back out. That's a real pain, but nope. So Mirai has placed his final gem here, and he is off to gonna up A instead of walking onto these islands. Smart choice. It takes a while, and he needs to go back to the west anyway to get to the east. So he will be about a palace ahead here, as he is off to gonna hike across the east. Eleanor gonna take a death to get his magic back for Fairy Feet. So Mirai choosing to not get the full experience refill off of the gem of P. Off that his final gem, he's just gonna burn the gem and up A before the points count up, and he's off. Here is P3 for Elendar, which is a kind of gold-colored palace, olive maybe. Not sure what to call this color. And check confirming no upstab, no downstab, and no jump spell. So though Elendar is a good P3 behind, effectively, Mirai may get stuck here as he had his GP 114.34. And, well, Reba was really fast, because that's it! Okay, that was not much of a lead, I guess. Mirai cleared this a really long time ago, so I'd completely forgotten where Reba attack was. Apparently, 3 rooms in, okay, that works. Brass might. Oh, Brass is a good name actually for this color. That works, Aaron. Especially with this brick pattern. I am honestly not sure if you update from here. Walk it out. I think it was 3 encounters to get out into. I think it was like 3 encounters to get in here. It's a bit of a pain to get back out. And it isn't islands. This islands west, islands east. So walking all the way back with boots isn't actually that bad. So yeah, update it is. We're in a community room here, which we nicknamed the emoji room for obvious reasons. That is a variant of a vanilla room with a whole bunch of blocks in it, laid out in a kind of waffle-like pattern, nicknamed the waffle room. There are 2 different community variants of the waffle rooms. There's the regular waffle rooms, there's the emoji rooms, as we saw there, and there is also a type of waffle room variant community room where the waffles are placed over pits of lava, frequently nicknamed waffles and syrup. GP has unique items, has unique rooms that are separate from the pool of rooms used for other palaces. There are also unique enemies in here. These are fairly typical, but I will point out the unique enemies once we get to those, because here's some fun ones. Oh, fun for a given definition. 1:16:31 here for Eleanor, so just under 2 minutes apart hindering GP. 2 minutes is a substantial advantage here on an hour 30 run, but it is certainly not over, and depending on how they explore, this could go a few different ways. As, oh, there's Thunderbird for Mirai, who has no magic and no life, is going to take a death intentionally here to get his magic and health back. And Elendar wrangling this blue chicken knight. These chickens are unique to GP, you cannot find them anywhere else in the game. There are both chicken knights, which come in orange, red, and blue variants, as well as spicy chicken knights, and then there are also regular birds with big wings. There are spicy chickens as we call them, and both variants can give you a really, really hard time. Snow Bear commenting on my ability to roll seats. No TR. Yeah, the fun is definitely it's fun for the viewers, perhaps maybe a bit more than the runners. So these guys have played many Zelda 2 randomizer seeds uh, over their entire time in the community, and they've seen a lot. They probably haven't seen everything because I'm not sure that's possible, but they've seen a lot. As T-Bird goes down from Rai, pretty nice fight, does not take a death, and Elendar takes a death himself and is not only a couple rooms behind here. Better question is, oh yep, there's Darklink. Darklink just after T-Bird, which is only like 6 or 7 rooms in. Very fast GP. Um, and there we go, GG's. 118, about a 118.30, 118.40 for Mirai. So, gonna finish up here as Elendar gets to T-Bird, and we'll see if we can get them into chat a bit. Oh yeah, Mirai was the runner-up in our most recent standard tournament that finished a couple months ago. Elendar is himself a longtime member of the community, has played in tournaments for years, and they both have plenty of experience under their belt. And just a couple hits left on T-Bird here, down to his final part of life for Elendar. I thankfully do not commentators curse him, and that'll be Darklink here, and he'll be done in a minute as well. They were about 2 minutes apart getting in, and they'll be about 2 minutes apart getting out. I know we are running a little bit behind schedule. Our bot to finish that done in the room seems to have been a bit busted, but that's about a 1:20:10, I want to say, for Elendar. Minute and a half apart, and 2 minutes apart entering, 1 minute and a half apart finishing. GG's. But I think we can chat here for a couple minutes about how this seat went. I know that we are running a little bit behind schedule, so this will be a quick one. Yeah, we'll be on the people organizing this restream to go lug them in.
I am happy to let them in if they jump into the marathon waiting room. Currently, the only people I see. Oh, there's Elendar.
As you say that, there's Elendar. Hey, Elendar, GG's on that one.
Hey, GG's.
That was a seed.
Yeah, I got lucky in some bits, and I did some bits well, and boy, did I do some bits bad and get unlucky.
I think you both did.
Just-
Shoutouts to double island volumes today.
Yeah, I went to the bottom in 4. I like explored the whole dungeon, and then the boss was like 2 rooms away.
Oh, Mirai did the same at least there. Hey, Mirai, GG's. Luke, can you hear us?
Am I coming through?
There we are, GG's.
Okay, thanks.
Hey,
Yeah,
GG's.
man.
Here's a
Wow.
question: how long did it take you to get the boots?
I got them out of Logic.
I also got them out of Logic.
You guys got them at
Amazing.
almost the same time. Very close. The difference, I think, there was that Elendar, you went back to the west soon after. Mirai stuck around the east a bit longer at that point.
Yeah, if I had, I knew the water tile was there, and I'm like, I could go back and get it. I probably should have. And then finding out well after the fact that it was the magic key was like,
Yeah, it would have saved you some time. You guys had keys from the draw pool, so it wasn't the worst.
Yeah. And by the time I got into Dungeons, Fairy was super cheap anyway. I think the real thing that cost me the race was I took 3 different game overs on the way to the raft tile.
Yeah.
I took
Different
one.
points.
I mean, I think I took more than one, but I took one on Maze Island for sure.
Yeah, that Mermaid's Island one hurt because you missed the child and raft first trip through and had to backtrack. We
Yeah,
actually weren't sure what the raft was at first because this our first time seeing the sprite. Of course, we were like,
it's a canoe.
I warned Elendar that it was a canoe that looks like a brown football.
I've played FF1 a few times, so it's not surprised.
fair.
Yeah.
You guys better on that front than me because I've never played FF1.
Yeah, shout out to Nightcrawler who just finalized that fighter sprite today, this morning at like 6 a.m. Eastern time. And yeah, he was up all night. He's going to be watching this later today. So I'm glad we were
He's
able
live in
to
chat.
try that out.
So
Oh,
very
perfect.
nice. Yeah, watching while at work, I saw a good number. We had a good number of the Z2R crew and Z2 a few too. It's just nice to see Aaron there in chat, for instance. But that was quite something. We were talking just before you got in here, Mariah, about how both of you guys spend a long time in P4, even
Well,
though Karak
the
turned out to be 2 rooms in.
Yeah, the entire palace was on the bottom floor, and Karak was 2 rooms in on the first right. So it was a big joke. This game's got
Yeah.
jokes today. Every time we do this for the Final Fantasy Randomizer community, we have terrible seeds, and no one from FFR ever wants to play this game.
I think we managed to get maybe 1 or 2 people interested, though I was all over the place because you guys were going everywhere. And goodness, just islands. Why did it have to be double islands?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, double
got
islands,
more
at
than-
least the boots were like somewhat accessible, although out of logic.
yeah, I was like, okay, well, there's boots. Where's Fairy and where's the Yenuki? And you guys found those both, and I was like, okay, there's the logic, I guess.
Yeah,
Because
Elendar did. Oh, sorry.
because islands biomes always break my brain a bit. It doesn't help I haven't calmed Z2R in a couple months, I think. Yeah. Oof, got a bit lost, eh? At least the game was nice enough to start you in the corner of the map both times, which helps a lot with navigation. Rather
Yeah,
than just dropping you off in the middle of nowhere and you're trying to figure out where's the edge of the map? Where am I going?
yeah. One of those palaces on the west was completely boots blocked, and I think GP was boots blocked as well, just surrounded by water in the corner there of those maps.
I think
and
so.
yeah, so
Yeah, you were supposed to like go to the east, go all the way to the west end, take that cave up, and then go get Fairy, and then go all the way back to where P1 was. So it was like, okay, no. I mean, I had like 3 or 4
Yeah.
keys in reserve by the time I went into P1. I still used all of them.
me too. Yeah, it sounds like a very similar playthrough here. I mean, honestly, it was kind of linear in that regard, but I mean, we had some choices, but there were some restrictions as well because of the islands cutting us off from some places. But this was I don't know. This was one of those seeds, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah, you guys cleared your first few palaces around the same time, but then you split. Elendar, your last 2 palaces were what? 3 and 5, I want to say. And Mirai had what, 6 and 2 or something? Like you guys had 2 different final 2 palaces. You guys both went to those final 2 palaces about the same time, but you guys had different final 2.
Elendar, when did you walk into GP?
2 minutes after you almost exact.
Yeah,
Okay.
I assume we both just took. I just took the standard route and found Thunderbird, and then Dark League was the next room. It was basically nothing GP. So
Yeah,
I assume we just
Yeah.
took the same route.
I was going to
Pretty
ask
much
if
you
you took
did,
that
yes.
first left because I didn't, and I was
I
wondering where
thought
that
about
went.
it. It was in the back of like I was serious.
Yeah.
What I was gonna do, what my plan was, is take the second left.
Okay.
Right. That's like if Mariah's doing real bad and thinks he's gonna gamble, he's gonna take that first left, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take the second left. Show him. And then there was no second
There
left.
was
You
no
just went.
second left,
You just went
exactly.
to absolutely standard routing, and the palace was done.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, how fast is this? Nothing. But you actually were just saying like a half minute or something. I'm right because you guys were like a minute and a half finishing. It was like a 1:18:34, 40, like a 1:20:10 or something like that. So you saved a smidge of time, but it was a good race. Just rando to you guys, I think, really.
Yeah, and I do want to say that you probably saw my camera, and as I got up, I paused on the bridge and I got up real fast. It's because Amazon decided that right now is a great time to deliver my package.
Fun.
But yeah, I can't wait to watch this one back. I'm sure it was. I'm gonna hate watching myself play because this was so terrible. I'm sure it sounds like Ellendar, you were dying a whole lot as well. So it's gonna be kind
Yeah,
of
Three Hearts was rough on you both. We didn't we have a lot of item locations outstanding. Never saw New Kasuto, never saw Death Mountain's items. I think we're missing Risen Peaback Cave.
yeah.
They say we're missing at least one palace item. So I don't think it was. I think there was a max of less than 8 hearts, but I have no idea what the actual max was. Uh, but you guys certainly never found any hearts. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
So things happened. So you guys did have a good amount of levels, even by the time you finished your first palace, where you guys are both at like 456, 455, something like that by that point. So that was nice.
It was certainly a rough start.
Oh, for sure. Late boots over at half an hour in with double island biomes does not feel good anytime.
And we both have the new sprite, so I got one practice round in it this morning with it at like 7 a.m. And then Elendar just got just just fired it up here before we began. So we didn't, sprites can kind of change the way you feel about combat and the way that you judge where you're at on the screen and whatnot. So I'm sure that kind of threw us off a little bit as well. But it was a very, I didn't want to pass up the opportunity to be able to do the fighter sprite.
Oh, absolutely. Much appreciated to you both and to Nightcrawler for putting that for getting that done just in time. Was a good time. GG's to you both. I do know that we need to get off this channel to go and get the next race set up. So give our runners a follow. Twitch.tv/Mariah and Twitch.tv/Ellendar. You can see myself there in chat. And big thanks as well to our Missouri Fox, who was doing our tracking today and helping to keep me straight on everything else going on here. Let's see if I can spell Missouri Fox. I think that's it.
And thanks out to
Uh,
the donation for Hi Dude.
oh, absolutely. To Light for putting up the original donation into I apologize. I have no idea how to pronounce your name, but to the Final Fantasy runner who put up for the additional 60 bucks OIPO is selling. Thank you us all, and thank you to everyone for participating. We have plenty more runs coming up throughout here. Next up will be Chrono Trigger Jets of Time, a Legacy of Cyrus speedrun by Akaish. So I will turn it over to our host. Thank you for watching all, and enjoy the rest of the marathon.